United States is Europe's main soya bean supplier with imports up by 112%. Brussels, the 7th of January 2019. Imports of US soya beans by the European Union increased by 112% over the current market year, July to December 2018, compared to the same period in the previous year. With a share of 75% of EU soya beans imports, the US remains Europe's #1 supplier. Conversely, Europe remains by far the top destination of US soya beans exports, 28%, followed by Argentina 10% and Mexico 9%. This is part of the implementation of the joint statement agreed between Presidents Juncker and Trump in July 2018. In the joint statement, the two sides agreed to increase trade in several areas and products, notably soya beans. As a result, the European Commission is now regularly publishing figures on EU imports. These latest significant developments in the second half of 2018 contribute to cementing the US leading position in supplying the EU with soya beans for the entire calendar year, well ahead of Brazil, Europe's traditional main supplier. In 2018, January to December, 50% of Europe's imports originated in the US and 36% in Brazil, 37% in 2017. European imports of US soya beans are bound to increase even further, following the decision by the European Commission to launch the process for authorizing the use of US soya beans for biofuels. Today's report shows that, compared to the first 27 weeks of the 2017 marketing year, July to December, EU imports of soya beans from the US are up by 112% at 5,181,833 tons. In terms of the EU's total imports of soya beans, the US share is now at 74.5%, compared to 39% in the same period last year. This puts the US well ahead of Brazil 19%, the EU's second main supplier, followed by Canada 2%, Ukraine 6%, and Paraguay 1%. In December 2018, the European Commission launched a public consultation on the decision to authorize the use of US soya beans for biofuels in Europe. According to the Commission's assessment, the U.S. Soybean Sustainability Assurance Protocol submitted by U.S. soya exporters meets the mandatory sustainability requirements of EU legislation for the use in biofuels. The draft implementing decision has been published for feedback until the 16th of January on the Better Regulation website and should be adopted in the coming weeks, allowing U.S. exporters to further diversify the European markets whilst contributing to the EU's objectives in the field of renewable energy. Background: the EU imports about 14 million tons of soya beans per year as a source of protein to feed our animals, including chicken, pigs and cattle, as well as for milk production. Soya beans from the US happen to be a very attractive feed option for European importers and users thanks to their competitive prices. The data included in the report published today on soya beans comes from the Crops Market Observatory, which the European Commission launched in July 2017 to share market data and short-term analysis to ensure more transparency.